Cause it's a whole second. Sure, they're supposed to be straight. Between together. This goes underneath, but I don't know if I forgot it.
Tabitha, can you turn off that Zoom on my computer?
Yeah. How she heard it? Cause we on Zoom as well.
So much better.
All right, it is 4:49 PM on December 2nd. I call the meeting of the David T. Howard Middle School Go Team to order. And I will take roll. Principal Hollis. Present. Mr. Brooks.
Present.
Ms. Eldery.
Present.
Shalonda Miller. Dr. Bryant.
Present.
Ms. Nolan.
Present.
Ms. Moore.
Present.
Ms. Patel.
Present.
And Mr. Baker. And Mr. England.
Present.
All right, we have a quorum and we are ready for our first action item. Approval of the agenda. Are there any amendments? If hearing none, I will call for a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
All those in favor? Any opposed? All right. And the approval of the previous minutes from October 8th, Ms. Eldery sent those to us shortly after the meeting. Any additions or edits? All right, motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor? Any opposed? All right, and now we have time for our public comment. Are there any folks signed up for public comment?
I don't know if am I an agenda item or considered public comment? I don't know.
You're an agenda item.
Oh, that's what I thought.
Thank you. Oh, boy, okay. That's gonna be great.
This is Monday.
Best day for a meeting.
When was the last meeting?
October 8th.
Okay, so we've had one public comment since October 8th. It was on October 21st. And it would like to be read. It was from Brittany Switchwall. And it says the average grade on the 7th grade on-level math assessment was a 43. What is the school doing in real time to remediate these issues? When will the school release all assessments to children and their parents so that they might learn from their mistakes? How will the school communicate that the assessments are available?
All right, and so now we're into discussion items. And we have our strategic plan update. And we'll start with the reading proficiency data. I don't know, I need a bigger. Let me just-
I can
Yes.
start with this if needed. Here's one bang, two bangs.
Anybody else need to? figure? Oh, okay. And he's the youngest guy.
I know, I'm sorry. Anyone else?
I even have my full contact.
Thank you. Everybody's good?
Crystal, can you see our screen? Crystal, can you see our screen? The data?
I can, I'm sorry.
Okay, great. Thanks. So, we're starting with our reading data as requested. This is not a part of the meeting agenda for this, what was scheduled, but it was asked or requested from the Go team. And so we're starting with this reading data. And this is the reading data from last year, which is determined through the milestones for ELA. What you see in front of you is the district data on the top for our, I guess, students that took the milestones. And the second line of data is overall school data, and then the data beneath that is the grade level data for the students who.
Speak up.
What is the orange versus the green?
Right, what are we,
Like, what are the percentages?
I was about to say that,
Sorry.
yeah. So this is students who are reading on or above grade level is in the green, and in the orange are the students that are not.
And what are the markers for that? Is that a lexile, like a certain lexile for each grade?
Yes, it's determined by the state.
Do you know what those are?
Off the top of my head, I do not, and I do not have my device.
Do those change every year?
It
Or
changes per grade level.
but those have been standard for years or
They've been standard for 2 years.
2 years? Okay. Do you think they're gonna change with because my ELA and standards are changing again?
No, there has not been any indication that that would change. The only thing that's changed, the Lexile band has not changed, but what they consider the number you're attaining or aspiring to attain for that grade level, that's changed, but it's within the grade band Lexile grouping. So this data shows how we have trended over the past 2 years. And as you can see, from 23 to 24, we increased by 3%.
The counts are really different.
Yeah, the number.
But take the test.
400,
No, 6.
but the numbers on the bottom are similar.
Yeah.
626 compared to 1,025, 400 less data points. And what, our school is usually about 1,400 kids, right?
Our school has never been
Or
1,400
1,200 kids?
1,100.
Sorry.
It was okay. And last year, I think we
So
were at
we're
like
just-
1060
So the numbers on the bottom are,
per grade level for 23 and then 24.
yeah, but what I'm saying is the 2023 count at 626, if you look at the 6th, 7th, and 8th grade numbers for 2023, those add up to more than 626.
I understand that this is from the dashboard the APS gave, and I'm not sure how that 626 came to be, but when I pulled it, this is what it came.
And it's still based on milestone.
It is still based on milestones. All right, so the breakdown data for last year's data as it relates to the subgroups that we are seeing that we would like to monitor. This is what the breakdown data looks like for the students from last year, 23, 24.
It's a 20% difference between 6th and 7th graders.
Question, when is this, what milestone is this? Is this from the end of
Last
the year?
year's.
It's the
Mhm.
end of the year, so the
Yes, ma'am.
spring?
There's only one
There's only one,
milestone.
well, in middle school, there's only one,
Math is the 3.
and this is taken from the state's data.
It's for you, it's for the.
That's the
Right,
rest
for
of
the
the big
bigger
ones. Can I have a small one back?
So it changes by 20% in with students with disabilities and Black students between 6th and 7th grade. Is there a reason, and Hispanic, is there a reason that those trends exist between 6th and 7th grade across multiple grade levels? Is there a Lexile difference, or is the
There is a
Lexile
Lexile difference per grade level.
I understand, is the jump different between like 6th and 7th versus 7th and 8th Lexile levels? Does that make sense?
It does, I would have to look, and I don't have my device with me.
Okay. I just wonder if, because that trend you're seeing across, so I wonder if there's like a larger jump or a less of a jump.
It
between 6th and
normally
7th.
isn't,
It's
but
not.
I don't want to go on record as saying it is not without having it specifically in front of me because of how particular our populations are.
Is there any sort of intervention that's done that's more prevalent in 6th grade and 7th grade versus like the jump from 7th to 8th? I mean, you're seeing a pretty big drop from 7th to 8th for Hispanic students, 7th to 8th grade, but you're not seeing that same with students with disabilities. But you are with Black students. What, 13 points? Is that 13 points between 7th and 8th?
I mean, I can give you a whole lot of possibilities. I can't articulate an exact reason why.
I didn't know if there was an
different-
intervention or if there's something
There
you're
are
doing.
interventions that's being done for all grade levels. So
Can
there's
you-
not a specific intervention that's being done for 6th grade. It's not being done in 7th and in 8th. That's just what I'm saying. So the intervention is being done here.
Can you speak a little bit to this so we know what?
We have students who are traditionally in the bottom 25% in the MAP scores that are getting an extra class during their connections class.
That's for
Where
ELA too, or reading as well? I thought it was just math.
it's
both.
math and reading.
Oh, it is. Oh, okay. That's awesome.
Mhm.
How often is that class?
just like any other connections class or every other day.
Every other day? And they can qualify for both?
Yes and no. You can qualify for both. We do not force kids to be in interventions for all of their connections classes because then they wouldn't really have a love for school if they were just in
Right.
core classes all day. So we do not put them in both.
Do you have enough staff to support the needs of the school
Currently,
in regards to reading? When we're thinking about budget
so
and priorities?
that's like a double-edged sword. When you're talking about 13% of the students, because the pool of money is the pool of money. And in order to add more, especially when a lot of parents don't like their students to be in those intervention classes, so we do have parents that opt out from getting those services. It is kind of what they discussed at the cluster meeting, whether or not we want to keep the intervention classes, or do we want to keep the class sizes smaller in the teams, or do you want to keep the options for connections classes? So the pool is the pool. Meaning I'm stretching as much as I can. It would, I mean, I think everybody would love to have more, right?
I know that they were talking about, going through the legislative session today at the board meeting and advocating for funding for middle and high school again, and more funding for elementary for reading intervention. So in an ideal world, you could use more support.
In the ideal world, I probably wouldn't add but maybe one more support person, because it does become more limiting. Meaning like the benefit is not really there. So it would be nice, just based on our data, to have one person dedicated to reading and one person dedicated to math, which is what we had last year. This year, we have the same person dedicated to both.
Oh, yeah, that would be.
So it would be ideal, but if I had to weigh the value in that versus the other things that we offer at the school, I don't know that that's where I would spend the money. If my money is cut more, I can't say that I'm going to say add another intervention teacher.
And just from a personal perspective, based on my professional experience, interventions for reading are better in elementary school. They're better at the primary, like literally first, second grade. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
First, second
Already
grade.
such
I think that's a double-edged sword.
Yeah,
I believe that it's better in elementary school because elementary teachers are trained on how to teach someone to read. Secondary teachers, 6th through 12th, are not trained on teaching students how to read. It is assumed that they already know how to read. But that's the same with not just the teachers, but the resources as well. So when you buy resources for reading intervention in middle school or high school, it is typically geared towards an elementary school student because that's when you traditionally learn to read. And so a lot of times students become a little bit disengaged in the materials that's used for that process because it appeals more to a younger child. And so it is embarrassing at that point.
Yeah.
So we use this year, because we had to purchase intervention resources on our own, we collaborated with our foundation to get the software that we felt was best for our students.
For reading, what software package is that?
Reading Plus.
Is that something you have to renew every year?
It is.
And then how do these translate when you say it's just below the reading level for the grade? How does then this data translate to the bottom quartile that you're saying is marked for intervention? Like, are all 57%, are all of those 81 students in 6th grade, Black students?
No.
They weren't. So what percentage
we're not doing the bottom percent of students in the reading lexile. We're doing the bottom percent of the students based on their milestones or MAP scores, proficiency level in ELA overall.
Okay, so this just says they're not reading on grade level.
Correct.
Which could be 1 year, could be 2. could be
Right, that's
3.
what I'm saying. Like, how does this mark out? Like,
This is just is or not,
right,
this
right,
particular data.
right. Thank you for presenting that. I wonder how many kids are in that. Do you know what it is, the bottom quartile data? No, it's ELA, just an overall score, isn't it?
Yes.
I didn't realize that we had one less support person this year. But I do appreciate that you did bring that option back for some extra help during intervention for the students that qualify and the parents that are willing to work that into the budget.
For sure.
And it's our same subsets, right? Like it's our same subgroups that are struggling.
Yes. All right. The next piece on the agenda, I was gonna switch to like family engagement before we did the
before we do
SIP
that, that's
review
fine.
and priorities.
Any objections? All right, thank you. Thank you for being here.
Crystal, you're up.
Thanks for the invitation. Good evening, y'all. See a few familiar faces. So, greetings once again. I'm Crystal Saracen. I'm the program manager in the district's Office of Family Engagement. I am located centrally. We are a team of 7, and I was able to bring greetings to some of you all at Principal Hollis's last chat and chew. So this slide may be a bit familiar, but I wanted to steer or guide the conversation a little bit more deeply because of some of the call outs that I heard from that chat and chew, as far as impact on academic partnering and more connections amongst families, to somehow have an impact on student achievement. So just what you see in front of you are some of the pillars or the pillars for family engagement. One of the things that I heard from a few families is, well, what does that mean? What does that look like, family engagement? And what does the Office of Family Engagement do? So just a little bit of context. Once again, the Office of Family Engagement, we support schools strategically with their efforts in partnering with families. I will say this, and I truly do stand by it. I think that the strongest partnership should exist between a child's instructional staff, their teachers, and the caring adults in their lives, and then the rest of us, myself included. And I said this to Principal Hollis before, like we should be cheerleaders in supporting that partnership between the child's educator, the one person who's in the classroom doing the teaching or supporting the teaching in the classroom, and then that child's family. And then I'm kind of a secondary cheerleader to that, and that's what I share with our team as well. So when you ask, what is family engagement, the Office of Family Engagement, what does that support look like? Is trying to find the best strategies to put in place so that we can strengthen that partnership that you all have, that parents and families have, and that you feel from your child's teachers. So how is that relevant to you all today? Hopefully you can tell me, because you extended the invitation, but just kind of extending from the conversation that we had at the chat and chew, I did want to pose 2 questions to you all and to maybe guide a little bit of the conversation. I won't be before you long. I know you have a full agenda, but how can the Go team support academic partnerships between families and schools or families and teachers? How can you all influence, support, or impact that? And then also, how can all families, because that was one of the call outs from the chat, and I'm referencing the chat because that was my first time really having a more intimate moment with Howard Middle School families. But one of the call outs was, there's several family to family networks, and not all families' voices are represented in, a Go team meeting or a PTA, PTO, or even the principal chat. But trying to leverage the communications and connections that I know do exist in the community, and being able to leverage those family to family networks to impact student achievement. yes, I am biased. I feel like the gap filler, even to some of the data points that Principal Hollis just shared, I think that there's an opportunity for increased engagement of families, and utilizing that as one of the tactics to increase or close the gap with student achievement, regardless of race and ethnicity or even economic status. I think that engaged families, whether they're physically in the building or not, just being engaged in the child's lives makes all the difference. I'm yet to be swayed otherwise, and I think that that's where you all come in, and different other parent groups, whether they're formal or informal, being able to influence and impact the family networks, the caring adults, the parents, grandparents, whoever it is that is rearing your children, to be able to influence that, so that they can have more of an impact on their child academically. I said this before, I ramble, so I'll stop and then kind of get an idea of what are some of the, goals for you all as this Go team as it relates to family engagement, and what are some potential action steps that possibly myself and my team can support. And if the two questions on the screen help or don't help, you can feel free to kind of just, shoot off in the dark. But if they do spark anything, like how can the Go team, support some of the partnerships between families and school? Or is that even an opportunity?
So the way this initially came about is our community was interested in a advisory committee to kind of, I don't know, house parent concerns, initially with regard to math. I think that has expanded some. And so we are trying to really just workshop what opportunities there are, not necessarily to be supported within the context of the Go team, but that we can support in the community or encourage, or that you all can help support in the community to make sure that the concerns of the parents are being heard and met and addressed. I think our principal does a really good job of acting and responding, but there still seems to be some desire for something more formal, or
Okay. And I do remember that call. I put that in my notes about the math advisory team. And so I guess my question, if you all can provide more context, like what would be the goal, the ideal circumstance for such an advisory team, so that we can kind of maybe backpedal to figure out how it could be brought to life, and then who could kind of further along, if that is coming from my, with the support of my team, or possibly our teaching and learning staff, because it is content specific. But even if it's not, like what are like the goals of such a team?
Are we wanting to have this conversation now? I mean, there's not a motion on the floor. We've already voted on this, so I don't know about Robert's rules, but this would take us back to that discussion if we're open to it.
I don't think it would.
No.
I think that
I
what don't think it would.
the impetus behind bringing her, and we didn't have a chance in the last meeting, was to go deeper into the ways that family engagement works, trying to figure out how the district resources compare with what the desired outcomes are. So really knowing what we want. And then we've talked about, for the past 3 Go team meetings, the desire to have certain sessions, I'll say, like we did last year when we brought someone from the Department of Education, Georgia Department of Education, for math, or when we asked the safety and security team to come and talk about that at the school. So what are the topics that, outside of the regularly scheduled program, I'll say, or principals' coffees or whatever, that, people want to hear, how can Family Engagement Office help us to meet those needs? Because that's what was brought up and we keep pushing it off. And I'm at mid-year and I'm not trying to drop the ball on what the desires of the communities are. But if we can't come up with, these are the 3 topics, I might not be making that mark because I don't know.
So I don't think we talked about it the last meeting, but definitely the meeting before, because I don't think the engagement came, so we tabled.
We brought the documents and she
But
gave
the item was
documentation.
tabled because the family engagement couldn't come, but I think the math has been a topic for quite some time. And I think test and assessment is another one that I'm hearing about in the community.
Yeah.
And that is not one grade level. It's not one course. It's not one subject in terms of test and assessments. It's across the board, all levels. And just maybe some understanding around that. And I know that is evolving and continues to evolve. And there's new administration and there's probably going to be new curriculum and new. But I think even just opening up those channels that's what people are really looking for, is a place that they can open up those channels. But I also do think from a family engagement standpoint, having that engagement live within the concept of bringing it to the GO team and having an advisory committee, an engagement committee as an advisory committee, as the handbook says we could have or not have, is that information would then live in the GO team, the history of the school, so it wouldn't live in a PTO Google Doc somewhere. It wouldn't live in these random areas. Live within the history of the school and in open records. You could have that information. It could be easily found, that kind of thing.
If such a committee were to exist and it not necessarily be exclusive to Howard, but maybe it included all, let's just say, middle school families with representation and voice from Howard with that, because a lot of the conversations, or just even what I'm hearing today and what I heard the other day, I'm also here when I go to Butch or when I'm at where was that the other day? Invictus. And so if such a thing were to exist where it included all families from, all middle school families, if nothing else, would that be a step in the direction that you all would like to see? Or are you really specific
I'm
to
going to say there's school specific items, and I think with the flexibility and autonomy and differences in population and needs of each school as well, that I think you could kind of share ideas in one space, and we do that in cluster meetings but there's another space, I think, for school specific conversations. Because there, even the test and assessment task force meeting and the flexibility around test and assessment right now, some people's test and assessment at their schools, even though they're middle school level, may look very different than ours. And so having parents talk about similar things, they're not in a similar space. That would be my feedback.
As I would say, there may be something that needs to be done at a district level. I don't know what the other middle school families are. I mean, if there's some sort of collaboration, maybe we could come to that. All we know is what we see from our kids. And to me, this is my 7th year with a child in this middle school. And I just have seen, to me, it's district assessments that have been, and this is not just me talking, this is from many parents I talk to, that somehow are just, I think the teachers are doing exactly what they're supposed to do, but there's something about the test that's just not aligning, and it's causing a lot of heartburn. I think, to me, that's the one issue, and it does go across multiple subjects and now in multiple grades. And that doesn't originate at this school. That problem is somewhere, between the district and the student.
And I will add, I was going to add this in the cluster report, the Midtown cluster team did establish an advisory engagement committee. And they're gonna have 3 topics that they're engaging on this year. One will be test and assessment, and that's to get feedback to then take to this new test and assessment task force. So one of them is security, and one of them is, the third one is
STEAM.
STEAM. Sorry, I'll look back in my notes in a minute. So we're trying to get a way to get the Midtown cluster data across all grades. And also I'll give a report out on that test and assessment. So, but I do think just in open engagement community, if some people want to do it privately, if some people want to do it publicly, about challenges that we have, people knowing that there is a safe place, both teachers and parents and students. And the hot topics seem to be those items.
And with receiving, with it being a safe space and allowing families and caregivers to be able to share, does that also come with an expectation of, okay, now with, you know, with these action groups, like, are we working towards something, or is it just providing the space to be able to express the concerns? And I say that, you know, kind of already knowing the answer, what I would expect you to say, but truly just, you know, what would be the expectation once, in a perfect storm, once we are able to generate all of these parent concerns, are you looking to have a certain entity to be able to, okay, now what do we do with these shared concerns? Or are you looking for a group to be able to work towards something?
That would be the school. I mean, I think what they're looking for was, the way that I understood it, was an engagement purely to have a conversation about what is the current status, what are the current requirements, what are the current resources, what is the flexibility at the school, just an understanding around some of those things. But if there's action items from there, that would be, the schools would take the action, in my opinion. I mean, I can only do what I can do in the framework here.
And has I'm assuming teaching and learning has been out to greet you all on your agenda?
No.
Not this year, they did come last year. I brought representation from math and ELA last year. Math came multiple times last year. So.
It's been,
I'm sorry.
Say
What'd you say? I'm sorry, I was asking, was it impactful, but I couldn't hear what she said.
the state's meeting was impactful.
I think
the
our
state resource was.
I think our engagement last year was impactful. I think it was useful to the parents and the families.
I think Dr. Snell was very impactful. Her meeting was wonderful. I think some other meetings I'll be honest, caused some challenges. I think others would agree who attended. I think there was some conflicting information, which caused some more frustrations. I'm being honest. So I think when we have the engagement, if we do an engagement, it needs to be authentic and with resources that, I think that's been one of the biggest challenges of the last 3 years, has been the conflicting information that's been given, not by Principal Hollis, by individuals who have been in the school that have been represented by the district. I will be honest with that.
And I think, since, you know, this is being recorded, not all of those individuals are still in the same capacity or even in the district anymore.
Correct.
So, you know, as Ms. Eldery referenced, things are changing.
Yes.
Maybe not as fast as we would like, but they are. And so
We might
be
have a new
mindful of
experience.
that, right? And the experience, I believe, would be totally different just because of the people that are in the spaces at this point. But then too, you know, I just don't know how to focus. And so I'm trying to see how to meet needs when we have a moving target.
Yeah, and I don't think that the ask is fair that it sit in the hands of the school. I think this is parent concern, right? Like I don't,
I've heard from
This-
teachers as well. I'm gonna say it's both parent and students.
I have students here, I'm a parent here, I talk with teachers here as well. And I think
I don't think
the
anyone's
thought-
saying that there's not a concern. I think
Yeah.
everybody believes it's a concern, is how to move forward from the
Yeah.
concern that we're having.
and to have productive conversations, not conversations that isolate or attack, don't affirm the work that's being done, that undermine the work that's being done. And so it sounds like testing and assessments, but there's a committee, district-wide committee on this now. So I don't know, maybe having somebody come to talk about that
I can
from the
definitely, I mean,
district.
I wrote down testing and assessments, which I'm on the task force from the district perspective,
Okay.
so.
And then, math is always, all the levels now, it's always an issue. And so I don't know how you can support us with that. And I don't want to say your last name incorrectly. Is it Miss Saracen?
Saracen, but it's Saracen, but we can say Saracen.
I said it all wrong, all the way wrong.
I had to practice a little bit too. It's fine. It's fine. But yeah, and like you said, family engagement is more so like the vehicle. I think like who would be best to kind of help support that are our committees on testing and assessment, and even with our teaching and learning and the math curriculum. But I think that on the not side of things, but from a district standpoint, those entities can look for ways to engage families a little bit more strongly, and not do like a catch-all, but specifically hearing the concerns of Howard's community, and then helping you all to. And I don't necessarily know if that springs forth from the Go team, because this is something that can be open to all families, and it doesn't necessarily have to be in a formal setting. I know I heard that earlier, but family engagement is definitely informal, because it's literally what's going on in and around the community, in and out of people's homes. So how can we address it from that angle? I'm definitely looking forward to hopefully being included in that conversation. If you all do include our curriculum team and even the testing and assessment committee, I think that sometimes the engagement piece gets lost in those conversations. So definitely don't mind being a part of those conversations, to kind of steer back and say, okay, how can the families that are not physically in this room be discussed in ways that we can bring some action steps back to them, so that they can help impact their own individual students. What she has on the screen now is my contact information. Definitely please reach out and give me a call following up to this more formal setting. If we need to talk offline, I'm definitely available to do so. The survey, just as a discreet reminder that the survey is open to December 20th. Please share your voices and concerns, and even the glows about your experience as a Howard family. And then one last reminder, the annual Summer Experience Expo, which is, we used to call it the Summer Camp Expo, but a lot of our older students were like, might not go to camp. But this is an opportunity for families in the metro area, because we have a lot of families that come that may not even have students at APS. But we feature camps, experiences, internships, some even paid job experiences, and we bring them in one setting and let families and students come and tour the experiences, some of which are nationwide, but they may have a hub here in Atlanta. And it's very, very diverse, or an array of offerings for the summertime, in addition to the offerings that Atlanta Public Schools provides. And so that's an in-person event on February 27th, and March 6th is a virtual event. We do a really good job of bringing those same organizations virtually, so that families can ask questions and meet and greet with those organizations. Please keep in touch. Thank you so much for the invite, and I definitely don't mind coming back or furthering the conversation in other settings.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so continuing on with our agenda, this is the last slide. We're gonna talk about where we are with our continuous improvement plan And we are starting our winter map data, so tomorrow, winter map testing tomorrow, so we do not have any winter map data until we see each other again. And then we have to start prioritizing our strategies
And
to
that
get
map,
ready for budget.
is that map testing next 3 days?
Into the end of the
4.
week. Mhm.
Okay.
So it's,
That's coming up on us.
okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, so before we break, we are talking about ranking our priorities, so we're really kind of here, right? So we did this last time, but we just wanted to give it back. Remember our literacy goal, we changed it to being more focused on MAP assessment ratings because we won't have the milestones data necessarily before the end of the school year. So that's how we changed that. And what we have started doing, and from an ELA perspective, is reviewing those assessments to see if we need any changes. And then the rest of the things have been in progress since the beginning of the year. What we have asked for is support with our district ELA specialists. And in the last principals meeting, I did ask for translation, transcription. You don't have to take a picture, it's
No, that's
in the
right, I'm
slides.
thanking
In the
Sorry.
Very
translation,
small.
Unless
Very
unless you're
small.
like me and you can't see that.
software where we can have the data, I mean, not data, the conversations translated into Spanish or whatever language is needed for the specific student. So we're trying to work on something for that because a lot, like I said, we're trying to focus on our subgroups. So that is something we are in the process of doing. Again, for math, it's the same thing, 3% increase. Waiting on this map data that we really want to encourage the students to do very well on, starting tomorrow. And then another ask that has been lifted to our new cluster superintendent is curriculum resources for math and a testing bank, because what we have now provided by the district is, you know.
And this is just for math, or is it across all 4 subjects?
SIP is only for literacy, numeracy, and whole child.
I meant that curriculum resource testing question bank. Is that just for math?
As it relates to literacy, numeracy, that's the only thing I'm talking about with the SIP. That's when I asked for that. So I have not discussed.
Okay, I just, so it's for math right now? That's the answer? Okay, got it.
It wouldn't be prudent for us to ask for it in ELA because the standards are changing for next school year.
Right.
And we don't even, and from my understanding, the subjects tested or how they do the test in ELA is gonna change next school year from the state perspective. So there are a lot of changes coming. For whole child, again, our focus is on attendance rates, and the district has purchased some software. Parents have been getting some text messages and letters home with chronic absenteeism, which kind of helped because we didn't even know that was being purchased. So we appreciate that purchase and that communication. But the things that we have done and are doing as it relates to the school are listed here.
And they reported out on that a little bit at the board meeting last month. Some updates on that data.
Our data is good.
Yeah. Oh, I'm just saying more about that platform.
Yeah, I mean, our data is, we were in training today. Our data in comparison to others is good. So, I mean, it's not great. There are kids like we need to target and we are targeting, but I think the chronic absenteeism, which is like you're really, I think 30% or more absent, it was like 2.2%. So it's not that many kids. Borderline is the ones that we're targeting, which they're calling tier 2. So that is that. You've seen this map data like 4 times, I feel like, at this point, since it's the same data from August. So it's nothing new. And this is a fall to fall comparison of the data. And you have that in front of you as well. We have looked at this before. And when your question about when the next map testing will be, the days that they will be given, those are here.
That's a great slide. That's a great slide. Thanks.
Some people were asking about that. Yeah, that's great.
I made that.
I'm like, I want to put it online right now.
It was also listed in the principal's copy. We put it out there multiple times. But there's
Great.
that. All right, so we have made the adjustments to the strategic plan that we discussed in the last meeting. With the dates and taking off the BAS 3 information because we're not doing that assessment anymore for emotional well-being. So we took that off.
Changed the dates and added the 3% and added the subgroups to the attendance goal.
Which were the ask at the last meeting.
Yep.
And so what we're trying to do now is just check in to see if there are any additional changes that we need to make as we get ready to go into the budgeting season. So when you're looking at this document that you should have in front of you, or you've gotten before.
Sorry.
I don't know.
Just for this one?
Yeah, actually, that'd be great.
Give me a sec.
Sorry. Or I can trade you the packet. My glasses are, I need to get my prescription reviewed and I can feel it right now. What is WCI?
No, it's just really small.
Old child
I was
intervention.
like, whoa, I can't see.
I mean, even the bigger one is just.
I was just
I mean, that's why I'm.
I mean, it's also on the website because it hasn't, like when we updated it, it automatically.
It's still very
adjusted.
small.
Population on the
Okay, yeah, I
website.
know, you're right, it is, I'm fine.
So what we're looking here,
Can I read this?
we're looking at the SMART goals.
Sorry.
We're only changing the SMART goals. Sorry.
The map is nationally norm data and milestone is just state norm data, right?
Correct.
Okay.
But there is,
So that'd be another reason why I used map, right? Because it's national norm data.
yes. But it's also,
Do I hear that
It does a,
usually they do worse on map than milestones?
yes,
Okay, so we just keep that.
here.
I was told that from data and assessment. too.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
I can't
Na-
talk about
national,
no one
yeah.
else, but
In the state of Georgia, I was told that's how they see it too, for the people who take map and milestones.
well, yeah.
I didn't see the
I
data.
think that makes sense in my mind, just because we have only been doing milestones for however many years, and they've been doing, and that's an equivalency predictor. So that just means adjust the formula. But we could leave it with the milestones data because that is how we're scored with CCRPI. And you know that the CCRPI scoring supposed to be released in the next week or so. Very excited about that.
More data.
Well, as a former math person, more data is actually very exciting. But I think that maybe it might shift some of the climate to see how the kids are performing.
No, I think math is right,
Yeah.
especially if it's more reliable, and think it's a
Nationally
good
normed
point, that
data.
it's a good. Yeah.
And then with ELA stuff changing, I think that was the other, it's probably gonna be delayed, like math was this
Well,
year.
it won't be for this school year, but the next
Right.
school year will be.
Yeah, I think it's
Okay.
good.
So what do you
And
need from
then
us?
you
So
can't do an apples to apples comparison at
Right.
that point.
we will have to vote on this today, so if you have any thoughts, additions, concerns, and not that we can't modify things, but this will help guide our budget discussions, so.
This part, ranking the priorities.
That's the next part.
Right.
I need to know if there are any changes that you all want to be made so that I can type this on here.
No,
Um,
no.
None.
Okay. The next part is the ranking. So yes, not that we have a lot of wiggle room, but yes. So yes,
So we need to vote on the strategic plan.
Yeah. Is there a motion to adopt the strategic plan as modified?
sorry, I was going back to the modified
Okay.
version.
Ms. Moore is gonna motion.
All right,
Yeah.
there's been a motion and a second. All those in favor? Any opposed? All right, thank you.
Did you second?
I did, but I
I
think,
did.
I
Yeah.
thought Ms. Moore did too. I said it, but
I
I,
motioned.
She motioned.
you motioned it, okay. You can put me down as a second.
Yeah.
Y'all could be tied.
Yeah. There's not really a third.
So the next time we see each other, I will, just from doing this for a while, ask for flexibility around this date that we have for our next meeting, because if something changes with the budget commission and not giving us the budget to be able to tell you what our projections are and what they've projected to give us, then there might not be a point of having that meeting at that date. So just ask for flexibility around that first date. But the development process starts in January and goes through March. And so this slide, which it does not look like that on my screen.
See, I thought I had to make some edits later. Okay. It printed out weird too. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be absolutely great.
It is great.
Yeah, we have
Hi,
it.
I can read
Yeah.
this one.
Oh, that's amazing.
Actually, I know it is, right? I feel a little
Because,
better.
listen, I don't know if I can read this.
Those are
We
just
need a big
numbered
one.
based on the 4 categories though, right? The 4 categories on that.
No,
previous slide.
this is numbered overall. The categories is how it's lumped. It does not have to be in this order. So in the last year's Go Team meeting, they voted to keep the priorities as ranked here, but we can change its ranking now.
Wait.
So they just have them in the order of the categories.
The school
No,
strategic
they
priorities.
voted on them and ranked them in this way.
They're in boxes, but they're not confined to that box. I think.
Is it
No, she's
exactly the
saying that
same
they were
order as
numbered,
this
it
one?
is.
Yeah.
Oh,
it
okay,
is.
But
but
that
they-
is
they
how they
selected it that
voted
way.
for
Okay.
them to be. It has
Okay.
nothing to do with where they're located on the page. That's where
The
they
two are the
voted
same,
for it to be
I
ranked.
think I think they're
They are,
exactly the
they
same.
do, they are.
Okay.
the same. Yeah, I think so.
They are,
Yeah.
I know, I
but that is
understand.
how they voted.
I understand.
We understand. I was just trying,
I'm just
to read
wondering,
it without reading it.
Gotcha.
I can't
It
see.
is exactly the same on
That's
the
what I
Okay.
was looking
This one is slightly bigger.
I think. Oh, no, I was looking at the
Okay.
previous box. Okay.
It is exactly the same, but it just happens to be a coincidence when they voted on it.
So we need to rank these, and you want us to rank all 1 through 14?
Correct.
Or do you want us to give, okay. And we-
And I mean, I don't I'm not opposed to you on not having 14.
Okay. so we
Yeah, I
can
would
set-
hope. I
we
mean,
can
it'd be a
combine
lot
some of them.
nicer to have less
Okay,
than
that's
14.
It would be, but when we discussed it last year, you couldn't really
Because some
come
schools only will
to-
pick like top 4 or 5, because.
Well, no, you have to rank all of them, but they don't have as many. Like Midtown doesn't have 14 school priorities.
So
So
if
we
we were
can
gonna adjust
shrink
that, do we have to adjust that earlier?
It'll be adjusted there. We'll just revote.
Oh,
Yeah, this is the
sorry,
time.
I'm just trying to understand.
Mhm. No,
Yeah.
apologize.
Yeah, I
This
think
is-
the boxes off to the left of this,
I don't see anything
yeah,
wrong with that.
screws me up, because I thought those were lumped in categories.
They are lumped in categories, but the ranking has nothing to do with the
That's next to it.
category. Yeah,
Okay, got
so you can say,
it.
I
You
want
one
number
from-
11 to be number 1 this year, if
Okay.
that's what you want.
Okay.
But that wouldn't change it in this box here,
No, because
Got
it still relates to
that item.
Okay.
Got it.
that
Okay.
portion.
Number one.
Yeah, it still relates, number
All right.
11 relates to creating a system of school support.
So do
That
we
helps
want to
me
look
as
at
an
it in the
ELA teacher and
buckets?
not
maybe?
a number person.
Yes,
Do we want to look at
it makes, I mean, I get it,
buckets
I've just been looking at it for a while, so.
But maybe
It
we
looks
can
good.
combine
No,
some
no, they
and-
always
Did
stay
you
in the
memorize?
bucket.
They
But
always do.
the number order can change.
Gotcha.
And they can
Somebody goes
decrease.
12.
So we
Combine
don't
some
have
of
to,
them.
we don't have to have 14.
Okay.
So then we
Start
would
with
need
each
to
bucket.
revote on the strategic plan. Maybe can we look at them in the buckets instead when we prioritize them? And then just shout out what numbers. So I watched the Midtown meeting, and it seemed like kind of people went around and said what numbers kind of stand out for them to be kind of at the top. Do you want to do something like that?
That's up to y'all.
It looks good to
Yeah.
me.
You like all
I like
14?
the- Yep.
Okay.
I'm not against 14. I don't know about if we want to look at the order. Some items
Yeah.
that stand out to you more than others.
Yeah. Because.
Mr. England, you're awful quiet.
Okay.
I don't necessarily think.
Yeah, right, I would. think
So
that.
it's, I,
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I think 14 is a lot.
yeah, I do too.
I would totally.
And I feel like 1 and 2 are similar, and I would put 2 before 1.
So I'll give you a vote for.
Would number 5 be more with the fast screener that we don't necessarily do anymore, or is it more to number 5?
No, number 5 helps us with
Right? Can't we combine?
the whole child interventions, but it's not necessarily needed to be called out in that space. So your universal screener is math
For behavioral?
Is Matt?
for academic.
So should that be modified because it says behavioral? Is that what you're speaking to, Mr. England?
That's what that confused me too.
Or what if we just remove it?
Academic and behavioral universal
Agree.
screeners to address whole child.
Because we're addressing the whole child. Implement.
Through PBIS
PBIS,
and
yeah.
SEL,
For all students. Implement PBIS and SEL.
and trying to create a safe, positive, informed, and engaged culture that is addressing
The whole
whole
child.
child. So it doesn't necessarily need to be called out in that way.
So 5 is just data, more or less it's saying using data to address. Is that what 5 was doing?
Well, this
I
was
think-
created prior to Ms. Hollis.
Can we combine 5 and 14?
Yes. Do it, and it belongs a little bit more in what strategic where 14 is. I mean.
I
in
actually
creating
don't know that I
systems.
would want to combine 5 and 14 because we don't have a behavior universal screener anymore. The academic universal screener we're using in the goals for the school with MAP, because MAP is the universal screener. So I kind of
I think we
think that
just take
5 is not
5, yeah,
necessarily needed.
we take 5 out.
Was it included, I guess I'm not opposed to that at all. I would keep
Yeah.
taking things out, but is it just so that we have data? Should we
That's what I'm
incorporate some
asking.
data point in
Well,
something else?
Here's the thing,
Or you
we
have
no
think it's
longer
in the right
have the
place.
behavioral data.
Right, I
So-
don't think it's in the right.
And
place.
we
But
already are
the
using the
Data
academic
is
data.
already a part of 1 through 3.
Okay.
Yeah, it's number 2 there.
So we have the academic and we're
So
deciding it somewhere
you
else.
could add
But that speaks to
universal screener to number 2
Mhm.
and still speak to 5.
Yeah.
Does that make sense what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
So any opposition to removing 5?
Nope.
All right.
Do it before they change their minds. I'm
oh, I'm
kidding.
doing it on here.
I'm kidding.
And so number 2, we can say utilize universal screener, academic universal screener data to drive instructional practices.
But that's for data curriculum and instruction signature programming. That's not for intervention.
Academic, universal. You're
I've
making the
already
edits real,
typed.
okay,
Mhm.
stop writing.
They don't want it on that page, so I'm on the other page.
Yes.
Okay. Have the discussion with all of us, please.
I'm asking her a question, if that data, if the number 5, although we don't have, it has to be modified because the behavioral universal screener, right? So, but you're using academic data for the personalized learning, for the intervention. That isn't really spoken to in the whole fostering academics for all. Data is more data curriculum and instruction
Versus intervention. That was the
versus
question.
intervention.
But based on the block,
But it's
based on
the
the block
same.
on the left.
Why-
This is the block on the left. When they're blocking on the left,
Correct.
they're
But
speaking.
remember, we don't have to have
You don't have
3 in
to
every
call
block.
out
Yeah.
that as a school priority
So,
specifically for it to be a school strategy. We determine school strategies. Y'all create priorities.
so I think of it this way. We're already addressing the academic data to address the children because we're using the MAP testing and the milestone testing to provide interventions or make people eligible for interventions, to place kids if they need to be in an advanced class, right? Like, so we're the data part to address the whole child. It's already, it's built in. So I don't know that if it still had the behavioral aspect, which we don't have anymore, it might be useful to keep, but I think it's duplicative.
And I also think that there's this misconception that if you say personalized, that just goes to core. Personalized can be done in having the choice and connections. Like there's different ways that you can personalize things. It can be in how you create group settings inside the classroom and do collaborative work. It does not necessarily mean.
I think that the question, and tell me if I'm wrong, because I didn't think of it that way, but I think is just the question of, do we have a data point specifically on intervention?
Right.
Because that, rather than personalized learning, because I agree with you, Ms. Hollis, like it can be a small group or something in the classroom, but specifically with regards to intervention, which is
And
under building a culture of strong student support, you have to have an intervention there, right? Or is,
So, like,
or
what-
is that
The
full
in-
child and
to
intervention,
me,
not intervention?
Intervention could also speak to having an engaged culture. Like I am intervening because you are a couple grade levels behind in reading so that you could be more engaged when you go to your ELA classroom. So I don't know how you
Right, and I guess that
specify it.
probably is the question, is like, what does that, here's your ELA teacher, what does that language mean? Like, does that mean intervention? I hadn't thought of it that way until you said that, but is that, our how we feel about the school strategic priority in terms of intervention for kids, like for our targeted populations and stuff like that? Are we removing data that would otherwise inform an intervention? Even though I understand we're having it for the others.
The data's not
But the data's
removed.
still there.
It is saying, you've already said that you're utilizing. So what we did was change number 2 to say, utilize academic universal screener data to drive instructional practices.
Right. Which I understand as a classroom teacher and I would use, but if there were students identified for, and then I won't belabor the point, but I just want to be clear that I'm being clear, that then if there's students that we identify as needing an intervention, does it transfer over?
Well,
So
it
that's
should.
not the go team space.
Okay.
That is where the school strategies come in. And in in the school strategies, we explicitly call out having intervention classes for reading and math, which we're gonna do regardless of what the priorities are, because we need them in order to meet the goals that were listed. So the way you need to look at it as in this space is what, and Mr. Baker can help because he was a chair over there with me in Midtown for years. The way that you need to look at this is what do you want to rank as priorities as a governance team that helps to inform our spending practices, and knowing that everything can't be called out in that space. And to me, and this is Ms. Hollis, and I'm not a voting member, understanding that having that data there as a priority doesn't move anything. It's not, I'm not spending money in that space.
Right.
Because that's something that we already do and the district does. I'm not the one paying for a map.
Right.
So I don't necessarily know if that helps us the way that it's being thought.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
But if you want to change it to eliminate the utilizing the screener to being like implement intervention classes in order to, that's something totally different.
Right.
That is a budget thing, and that can be the expectation of Go Team. And then I can say, yes, I do have intervention classes where we are addressing the needs for the bottom quintile of students, right? Does that make sense?
It does.
That's how I would look at it, but
The strategy is there.
from the school, yes.
The strategy
But
is
do
there.
you want that to be a spending priority? Do you want that data to be coming back to you? You see what I'm saying? That's kind of,
Yeah, that helped me. Thank you.
you're welcome.
Anything else
Did
stand
I
out?
say that right?
Great, you always do.
7, 9, and 11 stand out to me, and I would really love for 7 to move closer to the top. I feel like we need to make sure that we're increasing teacher capacity to do 1 and 2. I feel like that's a great place to focus our monies.
You said 7, 9, and 10.
7, 9, and 11.
11.
Oh, 11.
7, 9, and
Sorry,
11
sorry,
stand
sorry.
out to me to answer your earlier suggestion. And I would love 7 specifically to move closer to the top before 1 and 2.
So from a time check perspective,
So that we
you
did,
would want 7 to be number what?
Right,
11
so
to be
how-
number what?
so give me your top, well, you
My
wanna-
top 3 are 7, 2, then 1.
7, 2, then 1. And you like 9 and 11 also. Okay, how about, does anybody else want to call out their numbers?
Do we need number 8 if
I
we're
was
building
just thinking
capacity and
that.
leadership opportunities in number 7? Would that not include
We could leave that to
involving
the
students
school.
for that?
So take out
So
number
can we
8.
take out 8?
Any
I'm okay with
objections to
that.
removing 8?
I already have
Right.
a team and teachers
So eliminate
are
8.
invited
Okay,
to that
perfect.
space
Yeah.
so that they
Like a
can
list.
give input and feedback, because they have to work with the people I hired.
All right, so taking 8 off.
Mm-hmm.
And I have no objection to the proposed.
Is everybody okay with that?
Yeah.
8 being eliminated,
And
okay.
I have no objections to changing the order to bump 7 up. You said,
7, 2, then
oh, you
1.
want 7 to be 1.
I do.
Yes.
Oh.
I think that's really smart, actually, but of course, that's from the teacher perspective.
Yes,
but-
y'all are the educators. Can we compromise? Can we maybe make it?
And see, to the argument that you were making earlier, number 1 is talking about the intervention classes.
Yeah.
Right, no,
Mhm.
I see that.
And while I love the teachers,
Mhm.
and I'm all for y'all, I do think that's,
That has to stay.
yeah, I think that has to stay number 1.
I can understand that.
I think that needs to stay number 1, because
I
that
would
is what
move
we're here
7
for.
up.
Right.
That is
Right.
the work.
Yeah.
I think student should be at the top.
I would
That is the work that we do.
We tempted to move 7 way up, so.
Yeah.
Can we make it 3?
We can make it 3. My perspective is that I need to do 7 in order to do 1 and 2.
So that's, I was wondering
As
if
from a teacher
seven, could,
perspective. I'm not saying that
I'm a little-
teachers are
yeah.
first. I'm saying
I
that
know.
we need to make
No.
sure that, you know what I mean?
that we,
I do.
we've said you have to raise it 3%. So if you don't provide the tools to
Yeah.
do that,
Correct.
you're just saying, okay, write that down, do that. How
But
will you
even
do
with
that?
the 3%,
Like-
I feel like data has to come first before we.
I think data drives everything.
Right.
That's why I said.
Math.
That's
I'm
why
like everything. I mean,
That's
That's why I
hiring
said make it 3.
students.
Like, I think make it 3.
I definitely
No, I
think
could-
that
But I do
building
in the top
capacity
3%.
is
In the top
important, but I do not think that it goes before
That's fair.
1 and 2.
Can we make it number 3?
I'm
For
okay with
which
3.
one? It's,
So number 7 becomes number 3.
well, I think everyone should go around and give like their top 3 and we kind of do consensus on what those are.
It's 6 o'clock. We committed to 90 minutes.
And, well, we
I know
can
this-
vote on that. We also committed to
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
I think we
My
can
baby's
listen to
6,
maybe,
so I'm gonna vote no.
sorry.
So
So I think,
I think we can quickly, if y'all can quickly say your
right, just say your top 3, Mr.
But that doesn't help us to rank all of them.
Correct.
No, that's what I'm, like, if we can,
At least we can begin to get it down.
what
Yeah.
3 stand out to you?
Ready, set, go.
You've said yours.
I
Yeah.
hold mine. I'm fine.
And 7 is our strategic priority that speaks to professional learning, correct?
Correct.
Mhm.
Anybody else want to call out their top 3?
I'm good
All
with
right.
1, 2, 7. That's
Okay.
what Ms. Miller said, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm very good with that.
Ms. Miller said 1, 2, 7.
Mhm.
Ms. Moore said
1, 2, 7 is fine.
She said 7, 2, 1.
1, 2, 7 is fine.
You want to start, okay?
You're welcome.
I think 2 goes before 1 because it's the first one's data, but
And do you have a third?
7.
All right, how about Ms. Baker, do you?
I'm good with 1, 2, 7.
Mr. Baker, sorry.
That's all right.
Dr.
I'm
Campbell?
fine the way it is.
Okay.
she's fine with 1, 2, 3.
Got it.
Ms. Nolan?
That's interesting. I think I would do 2, 1, 7. And I'm
Okay.
2, 1, 7 as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
And what were you?
1, 2,
2,
7
7.
is fine. 2, 1, 7.
All right, and you said?
Well, I said 1, 2, 7.
Okay, so it sounds like 1, there's 4 votes for, and Ms. Moore, you changed. Ms. Patel, you said 2, 1, 7. Okay, so it sounds like 1, then 2, then 7 is the most frequently recommended items for the top 3.
Any other items that y'all see that can be removed?
Yes, I think so. I think down in the bottom boxes, I would
Yeah.
suggest that we could, we could certainly combine, if not remove some of these. So, I mean, and I think we would have to ask ourselves, like, what is the main goal here in terms of creating a system of school support that the GO team is going to focus on? But soliciting parent feedback on support needed to help students be successful and providing consistent communication and programming to keep families informed may be able to be one
Yeah.
thing. And
Do you have a suggestion of what that would be?
I would be tempted to say provide consistent communication. Well, and I guess that is a question for the GO team of what we're doing and feedback to keep families informed in a proactive way could cover that. I mean, we need the feedback in order to do the
Right.
communicating, but
Feedback is communication, so you could just drop the whole.
Number
Right.
12.
Number 12?
yeah.
Any objection to removing number 12?
No objection.
I'm reading it from the parents. For 13s more, we're communicating with them.
So the communication loop has
Maybe
to
we
be
need
complete.
to-
That's why.
Maybe
I
it needs to
said I
say
would-
two-way
maybe say
two-way.
two-way. Yeah, two-way.
There we go.
communication. There we go.
Perfect.
Perfect.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody.
Two-way
Yeah, and I was gonna
communication
say
between
it should be more than just parents,
And then
because that's creating a system.
Provide consistent two-way communication and programming.
Mhm. To keep families proactively informed. All stakeholders proactive?
I would
say
all stakeholders
Fair
is
enough, fair
fine.
enough, yeah. And then, do we need number 14? It's a question.
I know we're taking that out.
I don't think so.
I don't think so. I mean, as a GO team.
But
But that's a
Do you
school
want it to say
strategy.
proactively informed? That's
I would
changing.
say proactively.
Informed?
Communication. Or proactively communicated with, like, yeah, even proactively
Proactive
informed,
communication.
honestly, like, meaning if we can, yeah, I think if we stay ahead of things and we're not in reactive communication stance, that is much, much better.
Yes, I think that
I
builds
think
trust
that
and respect.
everyone believes that.
I-
It's
right.
just,
I know,
that
but I
might
mean,
be
so
a
if
little
it's-
lofty because a lot of the things that are not proactively communicated are outside of our
right,
control.
of course, well, of course, and
Let's
I mean, that's
proactively
accepted,
communicate
but
that.
right, and if we say that, but truly sometimes
She
that's
has.
actually part of that.
She has communicated that. Talk to her, like, let her know.
But my question too is on 14. Can we remove it?
I have no
so.
objection to
Oh, I
removing
don't.
14. Any objection to removing 14?
Because you already have that over
Yeah. It's a
in
good
number
team
14
priority, I
across
would
as a
think
school
it's-
strategy.
Yeah.
Because we can't,
Right.
it's a school strategic priority.
So
And that's what Ms.
I'm going to
Randolph
push
does.
a little bit on that one, not necessarily for the whole child perspective, but, and it could be stated in a different way, but just thinking about the diversity of family needs and not losing sight of, we do have families that are unhoused, that have other needs that we kind of need to support as well.
How
Can
is
we
that different
combine
than
11?
14 under the school strategies, though?
That is what we do.
How are we
That is-
supposed to use the whole child?
So
That's
Team.
my question.
So
Just
if
for the
we-
go team.
If you're previously you said this was for the go team, how are we supposed to use the
So-
whole child intervention team?
We
you
use it
vote
to help
on, so eliminating this from a budgeting perspective, in my mind, looks like we no longer need a 504 SST intervention specialist, which
That's
takes
not
up
what
a very large amount of money.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's not
costs
right.
more
So
than
that's-
a
That's
teacher.
not, that's not.
That's not how I
And
read that.
That's not how I
That's
read.
what supports the family needs and helps with the WCI process. WCI is not just about intervention, it's about attendance, it's about emotional support, therapeutic support. It's a lot that
Okay.
goes into whole child. And I'm not saying that it does or doesn't, and maybe it can be reworded. I'm just saying that, and maybe the rewording
And it's
might be a better
11,
thing,
I mean,
but
maybe, is there, yeah. I guess I was trying to apply the earlier logic.
Correct. I
And-
was trying to apply what you had said previously.
right, and I said maybe it needs to be reworded.
Yeah.
But calling it out that we do have families that have needs, that need someone on staff to address their needs, to make sure that we give wraparound services is what I am saying. However we want to say it. Again, I didn't write any of these statements. This is not my first time ever altering any statements. In that space, I did alter some
What-
school strategy statements.
Is there a better way for us to word it that you would suggest? I understand, like, I now understand better what it means from your perspective, but I will honestly say that's not what I was reading when I read it.
And that's fine. Like I said, I'm okay. I mean, I'm okay with deleting it the way that it reads.
Should we put something for that to speak to it in the building the culture of student support for whole child in blue? That would give you,
Wraparound services.
right,
Is that why? Because
Intervention.
you feel like that's.
Well, I
consistent.
think they put it there because of the equitable resource allocation.
That's
why I think
Mr. Baker?
Yes.
That's why we
Yes.
So what if you said provide consistent communication, programming, staffing to engage families and support them in a proactive way?
I think we wanted to add all stakeholders versus just families.
For the smart
Okay.
teams identify.
Wait,
Say
this
that
one-
again.
you-
I'm just
you were trying-
reading.
He was trying to
Right,
put this
sorry.
one.
Provide
Oh,
two-way communication, programming,
And staffing. So that way you've got an inroad for your whole child.
thank you.
If you want. It's just one way. Because I think
Yeah,
for right now, 13 is dealing just with families and, stakeholders, but 14 is dealing specifically with, like you said, children, but maybe there's a way to combine them so that the families are considered.
Provide
Ms. Randolph, there's a lot that
communication
Ms.
program
Randolph is doing under that.
all stakeholders
And it's real
proactively
important.
informed and supported.
Yes.
Well, maybe.
I was
So
just
we
more
need to mess
support
with
from
that.
above.
Yeah.
Different.
I just want you to be able to read what I type.
That's vague to me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I feel like we
I
might.
think
But
we
these
need
are
14.
priorities are always vague though.
Yeah, they
Right.
are
I still
really
think we need
Strategies
14.
are to focus on that.
I just think
Right,
we
the
need-
third column, you mean, right? That
Yes.
third, right. And that's where your WCI team to.
I think it need to be spelled out because we can get lost in translation. And
Yes.
I've
You
seen
don't
what
want-
Which
Ms.
we just
Randolph
learned.
has done.
Right.
Well, but at
the
the same
schools-
time, you can also box yourself in, right? If all of a sudden there's a better, or something that needs to change. But granted, we're
I mean,
only
'cause I
talking for
think,
1 year.
Right.
so-
Like at Midtown, it says
Yeah.
like,
It's,
provide salient resources
Right.
to blah, blah, blah,
Right.
which is very
Yeah.
Right.
generic, but it allows you to provide resources.
right.
Anything else? We are at.
All right, so we didn't rank all of them. So we have 1, 2, number 7 became 3. Do you like number 4 as number 4?
What would
Wait, where
become
is
5?
number 7?
It
was
just
in
got
the
lost.
orange.
It-
7
it
is
got lost.
gone, it
Okay,
became number 3.
But it's just no number up there.
It
Well,
is
I see
number
it.
3.
Oh, I
It's
see
number
it.
3 now.
I'm sorry.
But the expand
Expand- no, it's
opportunities to
expand
advance content
opportunities,
doesn't
that's
have a
one
number.
I know, because y'all haven't told me what number
Right.
4 is.
I think the safe, positive, and engaged school culture. 'Cause
What
if
does
that
that mean,
feels like
expand
more-
opportunity, advanced content?
So that the kids who are not tested.
Okay,
No, no, I
gifted-
meant like, what is
Algebra
advanced?
1 accelerated.
I meant like the actual.
Accelerated
Okay,
math,
got it.
earth systems, high school physical science, those are advanced content.
Would that not be like number 1, students receive enrichment?
When they're saying enrichment here, I think they're saying enrichment activities with on grade level activities.
Not
Advanced
advanced
content is beyond grade level.
But with that 4 at least 5%, that almost sounds like a goal.
That's a threshold. Well, I think what was happening is.
It's not a
Stated-
threshold.
it's
It is
not.
saying
What
explicitly,
was
it's
happening?
explicitly
What do you think was
calling
happening?
out that
Not
those
zero.
advanced content classes can't just have gifted kids in
Yeah.
it.
I can't fill every seat in
Especially
class.
when you're having
That's what it was when I started.
49%
What was happening?
of population.
Where there were
Every
0
slide was filled out
kids
different.
that weren't gifted, that were in.
That was
to
the
advanced
principal
classes.
prior to, that only stayed for 3 months.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, actually, I think that was before then.
No, she meant the gifted,
Oh,
talented
yeah.
courses and how many
Yes.
So then do we still
cohorts of
need
25.
that? Since it's already being done.
Oh, I'm fine with it going away. I mean,
Yeah.
as long as we,
Because if it's not an issue and that was previous
Right.
leadership, then.
well, yeah,
Yeah.
when
Like
we
that it's
voted
our
on that,
priority.
it was an issue.
Gotcha. So
Yeah.
But now that it's fixed, do we? Or fixed.
Such
But
a
everything,
relative word.
everything's
Which
for a
one?
year. The 5% thing. I mean, if.
So
and
is- I mean,
because
I'm
just
sure
asking as a go
students
team.
receive intervention and enrichment to demonstrate mastery on essential skills, utilize academic data, provide necessary, increase the diversity of families who are engaged, provide consistent.
I need 4, 5,
So
and
what
6
it's, okay,
people.
so we need some sort of thing that says you're going to push children. That's right?
We
That's
need
more-
something that says, the impetus, I believe, behind that is something that says, just because I'm not gifted,
I
does
can
not
still
mean
have
I
access.
can't have access to
Right.
advanced content
Advanced content
opportunities.
So original 3 doesn't live anywhere right now?
Yes, it
Original
does.
3
This-
does not have a number.
Okay, what about 4, then 3, then 6?
4, 5?
So we're gonna keep original.
5
three.
went away.
5 is no longer there.
I know,
So-
but I need to add a 5 somewhere.
All we have is
so I'm
1, 2, and
asking.
3.
Yes, I need 4, 5,
Okay.
and 6. is
So
what I'm saying.
4, develop a safe, positive, inform, et cetera,
Keep
et
that as
cetera.
4, is what you're saying.
Yes, then I think maybe
What about 9?
original 3, expand
So
opportunities.
this becomes 5.
Uh-huh, and then 6 is 6.
Anybody have a
I would-
problem with that?
I would put 9.
I like
before
9.
6.
So make 9,
Somewhere
5.
up closer to the top.
Or, and same with our increasing, what about?
Okay, so let me say it again.
Mm-hmm.
All of these things are extremely important. All of them. All of them could be number 1 in some way. You can argue it. We need to get to a consensus of 4, 5, and 6 so we can finish this out. Ooh, we only have 10. I'm so proud of y'all.
I think
Oh,
number
I
9
was-
should be number 4. It should go with.
I
number
like that
9.
too.
Okay.
Those kind of go together, but in different ways.
Yeah, but I
And that would-
think that focusing on student, I think 4 is more important than staff. Even though it influences it, I think student first, maybe 4 is 4 and 9 is 5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
4 and then 9?
I am definitely changing it over here. You can't see it.
Okay.
We're like,
I know, we're all like,
I mean, I
okay.
can-
I can't see.
Can we?
Yeah, we
can
just
we
put
go
your
back
working
to that
document, maybe that'll make everybody.
Everybody feel more
I
comfortable with that.
feel
So you can
comfortable that
see
you
it in
are
progress.
actually doing it.
I just don't can't.
Now I can see it.
Okay. So, 1, 2, 3,
What
4,
about?
We say, so
5.
that's,
Yeah, so that needs to be 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then just
8, 9, 10,
8, 9,
or
10.
10, 11, 13.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we
Well,
should
but
have
you've
that
got one more than
communication
the
one
middle
up
teacher.
higher. The,
Higher too.
13, I think should go up higher.
Okay. What number?
Just not the last thing, not proactive, informed.
8. Or 7.
Yeah.
There's 11 actually.
Oh, yeah, I'm fine with making it
Or
8,
six.
swapping
Or
8.
Right?
Wait,
Am I
I'm sorry,
wrong?
what's
I'm wrong.
6
Mhm.
PBIS?
It's just the way the
Yeah.
sentence
Yeah.
ran.
I
Such a
might
long-
make it.
No,
Oh, this part.
Yeah.
there are kids that need that motivation.
Where are we? Where are we?
We're trying to figure out
So
where
can we
10
swap 8 and 10? Yes.
I'm
Is
fine with
is
that.
everybody good with that?
Sure.
I think the cat team will be okay with it, but sure.
It'll be okay.
Wait, the who team?
The cat.
Because we put STEM as the 10th one.
Well, listen, Lord.
That's like,
No, but I just
that's
wanted
like
to say
10 years from
things,
now.
I wanted
The
to
way
say
this
things.
He was just interpreting what
I
I
know
meant.
exactly what you meant, because I was thinking the same thing.
As long
I was
as
thinking
it's
the same
senior
Because they really
participation.
said, what are we doing?
thing. But I mean, we could also say that it's already.
We can
it's
say
already
it stayed
cooked
on
in.
the
But there's
list.
These
money, well,
priorities
there's
already
money
cooked in.
earmarked from the district right now for that already. We'll see what happens after, I know, but there is money already.
Always money earmarked, allegedly.
Okay, are we done with
All
that?
right, yep.
All right.
So I also need to change these in the strategic plan, so you want to re-vote on these?
I was just going to
Yeah.
say, I will take a motion to adopt the strategic plan priority ranking as modified.
Motion. I move.
Second.
All those in favor? Any opposition? All right, and that's done. Okay, and so we have like 10
So we
things to
did
get
the
through.
priorities. I think we just, because she modified also, you did the ranking, but I think we need to just re-motion the priorities, the edits of the priorities.
Didn't we already approve that?
You,
because
we
we edited
changed
them.
them, but we just need to,
We
Because
deleted.
we changed
just need to approve
sentences.
our
We
deletion.
changed
so if
words
you
on
can take a
that.
vote on that again.
Just one real quick.
Okay. Motion,
Motion.
second.
Second.
All those in favor?
To adopt the new strategic plan, school priorities. Great.
Could have sworn we did that already.
Thank you.
It's not to adopt the new strategic plan priorities, is to adopt the entire as adjusted strategic
whole
plan, which includes the new
priorities.
changes, yes. However y'all wanna say that.
Cool. All right.
And so we have the principal's report, the cluster advisory report that we still need to get through. It is 6:20. We are 5 minutes over time. Can we get 10 minutes, 10 more minutes of folks' time?
Sure. I'm almost finished because most of my report is what we've been doing.
We already did.
Yes. Intentional.
Good.
All right. You already know that. My report, in the last meeting, we talked about mobility rate. And so I asked for data with the mobility rate as it relates to the 8th graders last year that had been at the school 0, 1, or 2 years, and how well they performed in different assessments. So as you can see here, which supported the statement that I made, that mobility has an impact on our data. That students who've been here more years actually have higher math scores.
Okay.
As it relates to trending, and this is for ELA, you can see that that's consistently the case. It's not, oh, last year was the only time. That has consistently been the case. And this is for math.
Still 8th grade?
Yes. And then this is for math, MAP.
So if you get them in 6th grade, they
Or
are.
we can move them if they stay.
Yeah.
Of course,
Makes sense.
that makes sense from a logical perspective. And then this is that data trended with the milestones data, which you still see the same. Any comments, questions? Just trying to satisfy, ask. And always bringing us back to attendance and enrollment. Our enrollment is kind of staying consistent at 1086 at this point. And this is our average daily attendance, which is up a little bit. And then our CCR attendance, RPI attendance is up. This is one that is kind of speaking more to that chronic absenteeism piece, because the 10% are the ones that are chronically absent more than 10% of the year. As you can see, our 8th grade attendance is not as good as the other 2 grades, but it's really not even a percentage point behind. It looks, yeah, it looks, but it's really not. It's not even a full percent from the low to high. I don't know why it does that. Not my data.
And ADA is what CCRPI looks at, right?
No.
Not chronic absenteeism or
No, average daily attendance.
ADA? Okay.
That's just you coming to school. This is looking at you're here,
How much of the time?
how much of the time? More than 10% of your enrolled days.
Okay.
Well, more than 90% of your enrolled days.
And the take rate, is that from the teachers?
Yes.
Okay, I'm just
You all
making
taking
sure I
attendance.
understand. Yeah.
Which is,
Okay.
mandated.
I know.
But we still not at 100% teachers.
Right. But that was pulled today, and you have people that are absent that you have to go back and
Substitute.
yeah. So I'm okay with that 1%.
I'm being funny.
Right.
Point eight. Teachers are doing an excellent job.
Point 8, thank you. Discipline, just trying to finish my part to get to, so you can get to the cat part. As you can see, we're still trending better than we did last year, with 90% of the students having no incidents at all. And when I say incidents, I mean major incidents, because level 1 is handled like in the classroom. You know, we're talking, move, did something you weren't supposed to do. That's simple, but this is major incidents.
Oh, these sixth graders.
Well, you know,
There's a lot of.
listen, it is a little different coming from elementary space where you are kind of allowed to be a little bit more free. And it's not, you know, student code of conduct by the book. It says this is what you should have as a consequence because you did this. It is a lot of conversations. in sixth
Is that
grade.
trend normal for sixth grade to have more in sixth than seventh and eighth? Or is it just?
It
No,
all depends on who.
it depends on who's in the cohort.
It's just a year.
Them sixth
It's
graders.
just a year.
They said
Don't
we're gonna
expect to
test
see the
y'all.
same thing next year.
It might be
Yeah,
worse than
it
maybe
just changes. Yeah,
eighth
it
graders.
just changes. The
It just
cohort
sounded like you were
babies
saying
in
it's
the
a
eighth
transition.
Good job, baby.
My
grade.
baby's
This
in the
year it
This
is.
year.
This year it is. And then something positive to end on, our science
That's my
fair
seventh
was
grader, though.
really well. It looked beautiful in here. And these are the students that's moving on to the Metro Atlanta Science Fair. Just because the child's name is not up here does not mean that they're not moving on to another fair. So where we can move them into like the tech fair, some other fairs, we try to keep them going because they're interested. And that's all I have.
Yay. All right. Cluster report. So the group session was a budget project that sounds like the principals did. We were presented two options, and more or less I don't know what do you want to call it? The project
How
that
do
we were
you
tasked to
compare?
do
You compare
was
like,
making choices in this next budget.
yeah,
There's gonna have
what's
to
gonna be
be,
your priority?
right.
If you had to pick between two things.
So they did a similar presentation at the budget committee, at the board. So if you want to watch that, where the CAT meeting is on, but that was pretty much it. In terms of CAT, we did the same thing. We looked at the strategic plan. As I said, the engagement committee did give an update, and I gave that previously. So look for communication coming out from all the schools about that and their newsletters. And that was it. Our next meeting is until the spring. So.
Thank you. Have you, this is not the CAT report, and it's not on the agenda, but we have 3 minutes. Have y'all had, I know, listen, I'm gonna squeeze milk all of it. Have you had the testing and assessment?
Yes,
Do you have
they
anything
had
to report out?
the first one of that. Jennifer Keenan was there also. There was no elementary school representation, which if you know anybody in elementary schools, tell them they have to be a GO team member though. They gave us a presentation, which I took some screenshots of, but I've asked them for the full presentation. They pretty much just gave us what ideal test and assessments are like. And they gave us 5 kind of priorities, how test quality tests and assessments should be built, and then ask, how are they doing at it? Good or bad? Or what are some of the challenges? What are some of the perks? So that was pretty much it. But in terms of the cluster is going to have an engagement committee that's going to push out engagement. And we're going to try to do that prior to the next task force to pull in that data from as many people that will fill out a survey. And a draft of a survey has been built out that has those same 5 kind of priorities that they're saying a best test is built off of, and to ask everybody for feedback on that.
Okay.
All right, but that was pretty much it. And there'll be 3 of those meetings, one in February and I think one in March. And we did ask for people from the central office to come to the engagement for test and assessment. And they have asked to wait until after all of the engagement is done. But they did offer that the associate superintendent will be, or cluster superintendent would be attending. So that is where we're at with that.
Thank you.
And as you wrap up, this is what is on the website now.
That's nice. All right.
Oh, one last thing. In terms of facilities, the facilities utilization report came out today from the board. So it's a hot topic in the Midtown cluster.
There's a presentation in Assembly, but there's also a long report at the end of Assembly. I'll probably put both on the different Facebooks and probably send them out to the newsletter so people have the information, but that's always a really hot topic. And they presented on it tonight at the board meeting. So I would recommend people watch that. And the engagement is going to roll out almost a year of engagement. And with first board, what they're saying is first read, I think, next November and second read in December, if there's anything that comes to the board, is what they said today, if I understood it correctly and am I understanding the documents correctly.
And it is important because that's what they use in order to make plans for
Potential
redistricting,
closing,
closing
merging.
schools, anything that they're doing. So, and it's a 5-year plan, and this is the initial data.
Yes. Yes.
Thank you. Anything further? Any announcements? All right, I will take a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
No.
So moved second.
All those in favor? All those opposed? It is 6:31.
So our next
Appreciate
meeting-
y'all.
Our next meeting is the 21st, is that right?
I think
The
that's
20th. But
No,
apparently.
the 20th is Martin Luther King Day.
Uh-oh.
21st, the 21st is what I have on my calendar. That's why I wanted to confirm that. I just,
Let me look.
isn't it? Tell me if
I thought it was the 21st.
Please tell me if I keep that in wrong. I just want to confirm that I
Yeah,
have it
but-
right. 'cause
But remember.
I know,
if
no, I remember
anything
the-
comes out
I remember
that
the
I need to
flexibility.
change it.
I just want to make sure
No,
that
the
the track
It's the
is
21st.
Tuesday.
It's the
Yes.
21st.
See,
My
the 20th
apologies.
as well.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
The 21st, I will update this on here
Okay.
and make
Let me
sure
check
it's
on that.
updated. Yeah, please.
Okay.
To the
Yeah.
I thought you
21st,
just
the
looked. Hold on a
21st.
second.
No, I was
I
looking
had
at,
in my calendar on
I
the
was looking,
20th.
I was looking at
Okay,
my
that was why I
calendar.
wanted to confirm.
I think I got it from the website.
Go
so.
team. Oh, whatever it says on, actually on our very first, I'll double check on our very first meeting notes to make sure, because the person who does the website is
Check.
different
Okay.
than.
Because I checked the website for them.
Well, so we need to
And
make
it's-
sure
I
that
think
the
it's- yeah,
website.
I'm
has
pretty sure
it
it's
on.
20th.
Really?
Let me see what we voted on.
Oh,
Yeah. 20th, it does say 20th.
But if the 20th is.
Is a holiday.
Oh,
I know.
holiday.
No, I
holiday.
think that's incorrect.
I read, I think we
Okay.
voted on the 21st.
I'm pretty sure we voted on the
Okay.
21st.
Yeah, I have it on my calendar. All right.
Are we adjourned?
We are.
Thank you very
At
much.
6:31.
Not bad.
11.
I don't know why you were still sitting here.
So we voted on the 21st,
Okay,
not on the
perfect. I'll
20th.
change
Yeah,
it.
the meeting minutes are the 21st.
Thank you.
I think I would have probably realized it when I got to the door.
Are you one of these too?
No.
Oh,
They
good.
told me I was too dark skinned.
Oh, my good.
I believe it. I believe it. That's a- hey,
There's
listen,
some
there's room-
literacy
there's room on
go
our bus.
team task force, if anybody wants to jump on to the meetings or engagement the next 3 nights.
Which task
Only
force?
go, I guess it's not a task force. It's go team engagements. It's only
How are
open to
you?
go team
Oh.
members. So it's the next 3 nights.
Plenty of go teams.
On the science fair. Did you see it?
No.
Listen, I was like,
But you don't have to go to each 3. They're supposed to be the same.
I just want to say.
they do all right. They do all right. They help cook too. This Thanksgiving. They, seeing a bake that. She baked 2 cakes and a cobbler. And Sheridan helped make, she helped make all the sides. So I was like, listen, I was like, yeah, I'm getting y'all trained, so pretty soon I have to do nothing. Y'all can take care of me.
Slide these chairs.
Okay.
Get out the way.
Man,
How are you, sir?
I'm doing all right. How are you?
Every day that comes around, we're gonna go with.
Better than the old.
Is it appropriate to stay in the meeting?
All right.
I'm just confused.
You're welcome, thank you.
What happened?
I was being sassy.
Oh, don't be
Always.
sassy. Don't be sassy to my press.
Not to me.
Oh, that's yours.
That's all right.
You
see
that
on
me? I understand.
I added. I updated that to be the 21st in the presentation.